report, and we already have some of our guests in the studio seated to discuss the role of state governors in addressing hike in food prices. And joining us in the studio is Professor Abba Gambo, is the Agric Advisor to Nigeria Governors Forum. You're all welcome, Professor.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Nigerians.
Okay, thank you for coming. Also here is Dr. Debo Akande, the Special Advisor to your State Governor on Agribusiness. Dr. Akande, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, and good morning, Nigeria.
All right, we have also been joined from Lagos by Caleb Mutfwang, Governor of Plateau State. Your Excellency, it's a pleasure to welcome you to Good Morning, Nigeria.
Thank you. Good morning, Ademola and Victor. Thank you, Nigerians.
All right. Okay. So while we still wait for the other governors, I think we should just kickstart our conversation. And I'm going to start with Professor Abba Gambo, the Agric Advisor to Nigeria Governors Forum. What, in your opinion, triggered the hike in food prices?
Thank you for having me. Now, when you look at some years back, we started with the COVID-19 and the whole country was closed, so farmers could not access their farms. That was the first contributory factor. Then we now came into the cashless policy, whereby you don't even have money to buy your farm inputs. So the money became a serious issue to the farmers. And because farming, it's a time-bound activity. Within that particular time, if you do not have access to what you need, then it's like you are a goner. Then thirdly, and most importantly, the insecurity. Most of the major areas that are called food baskets, starting from the northeast where I come from, then come down to the north central and then to the northwest, all these places are where plenty of food is being produced, but unfortunately the insecurity has endangered food production in those states. Zamfara, Kebbi, some parts of Sokoto. In Zamfara, we have the Bacolori Dam, that is a very big dam, but as I'm talking to you now, no farmer can access Bacolori Dam. And in Katsina, that is the Jibia Dam, which is also a very good food production area, but unfortunately, as we were talking, they cannot access it. And the shores of the Lake Chad in Borno State, which happens to be a major food basket, not just to Nigeria, but then the remaining other three countries, Chad, Niger, and Cameroon, cannot also be accessed. So insecurity has played a significant role in what we are doing. And then fourthly and most importantly, there is a huge post-harvest loss all over the country. Okay. From the production processes to the harvesting, the estimate is that 59% of every food produced never gets to be eaten or never gets to be processed. For example, in Boko in Benue State, out of every 100 oranges produced, 59 gets wasted. The same thing with tomatoes, yam tubers, etc. So our harvesting methods are bad, you know, and they are crude and rudimentary. For oranges and mangoes, we use stones to bring down the oranges from the tree, and then every scratch on every agricultural produce has made it gone. So, yes. So these are my opening remarks.
But what's your assessment of the level of inflation at the moment?
Honestly, to be frank with you, Nigeria is a country that is a hungry country now. There is hunger in the land, and this must be accepted. So it's this acceptance of hunger in the land that triggered the governors to begin to do things that they were not doing before. So I'll give you a very particular example. The inflation rate in the country is now about 28.92%, which is among the highest ever. So when you go to all the markets, you find out that the markets are full with agricultural produce, products and everything, but then the affordability. You know, food security is based on availability, affordability, and it must be in a balanced way. The food now, most markets, when you go to Utako market, Wuse market, etc., you find out that there are massive stocks of food, but unfortunately, people do not have the wherewithal, the cash to afford or to feed their families the way they really want their family to be fed.
Okay.
and ask Professor Abba Gambo, having listened to His Excellency, I wanted to ask what you think the governors should be doing. But seeing that you are their advisor, I have decided to ask you, what is the advice that you are giving them? And are they taking it? Are you seeing the results of the advice you are giving?
All right, thank you very much. Now, let me just make a clear, give the clear information. You know, the Nigerian Governors Forum is the association of the 36 state governors. That's the Governors Forum. Then for us, we are the Nigerian Governors Forum Secretariat with the hierarchy of our Director General, Barrister Okaro. Then we have 2 executive directors, Alaji Jibia in finance and admin, and then Dr. Shitu in research and strategy. Now, there are also heads. I head the agri-dex, somebody is in education, somebody is in health. So the secretariat is the policy hub. Yes, we do the agenda for their monthly meetings, and then we tell them what to do at certain points. And I'm so happy to tell you that, honestly, agriculture has been brought to the front burner in the last few months, as now most of the governors are talking about agriculture. His Excellency gave a good answer of what the mindset of the governors. And all of us can remember when the chairman of the Nigerian Governors Forum, His Excellency the Governor of Kwara State, Governor Abdulrazak, took some governors and then they met the Minister of Agriculture and Food Security. So that gave the impetus that agriculture is no longer as before, is now a business. Not a kind of rudimentary or traditional thing or hereditary thing. It's a kind of business. You go to the bank, you access loan, you do your production, you get profit, and then you pay back your loan. That's how agriculture is viewed all over the world, and that's the new mindset that we have given Nigerians. It's not a kind of rudimentary or traditional thing. Then secondly, among the advices we're giving, we're asking the governors to look at the comparative advantages that they have in their own states. His Excellency, the Governor of Plateau, talked about Irish potatoes. That's one advantage Plateau has. Yes. Then we are also asking other governors. In Yobe, the governor decided that in all the 17 local government areas, instead of doing one season, we also advise them to do 2 seasons. So the dry season thing is now like a chain reaction, and most of the governors are taking it. Recently in Yobe, Governor Maimala Buni gave inputs that they want to produce wheat, rice, and vegetables in all the 17 local government areas. And similarly, by the time you go to state like Akwa Ibom, the governor thought about what to do, and he said his people take cassava, gari, on daily basis. So he said his major aim is now going to be massive production of cassava. And then by the time you go to KB is a rice zone. So the governor has launched a program called Kadeda, and then it's based after him, Kaura Agricultural Development Association. And then what they are doing is to empower farmers to now produce more than ever before, and then motivate youths that are unemployed into the agricultural sector. And I think that's very important. Every year, all the universities, we churn out plenty of graduates, but there is no work anywhere. So if you can make the agricultural system more flexible, more interesting, and then less hazardous, I'm sure most of the youths will key in, because that's the way to go. And then finally, before I stop, I want to tell you that other state governors are also doing extremely well as far as agriculture is concerned, definitely. Now, you saw the palliatives. The governor of Niger State just got an award from the leadership newspapers as best governor of the year because of what he's doing in the agricultural sector. And then the governor of Zamfara, which is one of the most affected states by insecurity, he launched the agro rangers. And what he did was to bring youths into the system, and then he said he's the commander-in-chief. So the agro rangers are being trained, and they are manning farmers. In Borno State, Governor Zulum provided security and vehicle, so that in the morning, the vehicle will carry the farmers to their farms, while the security people are watching over them, and then they do their agricultural productivity. Around 4 is closed, they enter the bus, and the security take them back home. So we want a kind of proactive system. Like he said, it's no longer traditional, it's no longer the rudimentary system. We have to ask them to bring in more innovations into the agricultural subsector, because Nigeria cannot afford to be importing food at this stage. Definitely is going to be highly disastrous. Highly disastrous.
Thank you very much, Professor Gambo, for reeling out some of the efforts and your efforts and discussions with the state governors. Let's Gambo now. Earlier on, you talked about these post-harvest challenges. What advice did you give to the governors, in order to be able to tackle these post-harvest challenges? Because if it will amount to a waste of effort if these challenges is not tackled.
Thank you very much. Some years back, the Nigerian Governors Forum undertook a peer review of all the 36 states. And then in all the 36 states, I was handling agriculture, my other colleagues were in works, education, whatever. But then the truth is that at that time, we never saw a single functional governmental agro-processing plant in any of the 36 states at that time. So that makes it very difficult. Agro-processing plants are very simple things. It's something that you can do within the studio, just one room. You understand? Turn the tomato into paste, turn the onions into flakes, turn the yam into chips. All these things can be done, but then there has to be the wherewithal and the motivation. Then, secondly, we have very low capacity at the subsistence level of agriculture. Very low capacity. So, constant capacity building, you understand, and then introduction of more innovations, and then introduction of more technology into the agricultural landscape will actually boost all this. But then let us be clear. There is no any crop in the world that you grow today and you harvest tomorrow. None. So, still talking about the short term, the Nigerian Meteorological Agency just 2 weeks ago gave the forecast for 2024. And the forecast that in most of the northern states, the rains are going to start late. One. And then when the rain starts, the duration of the rain is also going to be lower than that of 2023. So the moment we got that report, and then we told the governors, most especially those at the northern frontline states, that you have to be more proactive now. You are now going to experience late rain, so the farmers should be encouraged not to plant early, or else they will lose their seeds. And then secondly, because the duration of the rain is going to be shorter than last year, we said you should now look out for early maturing crop varieties and also drought-resistant crop varieties. We have research institutes that are doing all that.
Yeah. Go ahead.
But then the connection between the farmers and the research institutes is very difficult. Like a typical farmer in Maiduguri cannot travel to Zaria to the Institute of Agricultural Research to obtain the seeds. Or another typical farmer cannot move from another location to do the same thing because of the transportation costs and other things. So we are now advising the governors that the governors should get those seeds and make it available to their farmers as quickly as possible, plus other inputs. Not when the rain has come. No. Before the commencement of the rainy season, the seed should be there, the fertilizer is there, and the fertilizer, the NPK we're talking about, 15, that was 9,000 some few years back, is now 45,000 naira. So most farmers cannot afford to get the fertilizers, so more subsidy has to come into the fertilizer process as well, because most of the farmers are now going in organic, looking for organic materials to do, which is a good thing. But then the fertilizer is very important. Our farming system is a kind of subsistence and very intensive. The same piece of land is being farmed year in, year out. So the soils are also getting tired.
All right. Let's now get back to the studio. I'm not sure if Professor Gambo had concluded his remarks at the time. You were talking about NIMET and what needed to be done to take advantage of the information provided by NIMET.
Then the truth of the matter is, agriculturally, whatever you put in the soil is no longer seed, is food. So, but then the farmers, because it's supposed to be an annual thing, whereby you get your quality hybrid seeds at the beginning of every rainy season, that's the responsibility of the government. But because there is not that conjunction there, you find out the farmers, while moving through their farms, they look at a bigger crop of maize or a longer head of millet, and then they harvest that one and they store it to use it as seed for the next rainy season. But then that is not seed, that is food, because it has already entered the soil. So it's supposed to be a fresh annual cycle of hybrid seeds. And like I'm saying, we want to implore the state governors, we want to beg them to make sure that hybrid seeds are available before the commencement of the rainy season. And secondly, and most importantly, the NIMED forecast is a very important tool for agricultural development in Nigeria. If they say there's going to be shorter amount of rainfall, then we must all brace up. But I'm happy most of the governors are talking about 2 seasons now. Instead of just rainy season, most of the governors are talking about the dry season. In fact, in Kebbi State, in Yaouri, they are even doing 3 seasons of rice. And then all the farmers are now on the field, etc. So I just want to implore the governors to do more. By Malabo Declaration, every country that has signed that agreement plus Nigeria is supposed to give 10% of their annual budget to agriculture. This year, the annual budget for agriculture out of the total national budget is less than 2%. And in most states, it's the same thing. So, but now there is an emergency at the National on Food Security. So let the state governors also expand that same emergency. Like there is no time. Like I said, there is no crop that you can plant today and harvest tomorrow. Yeah. And then people are hungry. So we need the shortest. We're talking of short term, but then not short term. We need the shortest of the shortest of the short term to make sure that the people get food on their tables as quickly as possible.
Thank you very much, Professor, for that. We need the shortest of the shortest time to get food available to the hungry in the land. I think the Professor Abba Gambo, a Greek advisor to Nigeria Governors Forum, thank you so much for coming on Good Morning Nigeria.
It's a pleasure, sir, for having me. I appreciate it.
Dr. Debo Akande, thank you so much. Special advisor to the Governor of Oyo State on agriculture. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Well, that's Good Morning Nigeria for today. Thank you very much for your time. I am Ademola Adeoye.
And I am Victor Azu. We appreciate your company. Do join us again tomorrow for another episode. For now, let's have a great day.